August 23rd edition of Back Roads of Illinois on today. We were Central Illinois agriculture source, and in the Midwest alongside in Central Illinois agriculture, we were glad you're here on Back Roads of Illinois. We were glad that it's Friday and the weekend after this crazy week in the Midwest, alongside with the crop tour for this week in Central Illinois and Iowa, Minnesota, Indiana, Nebraska, Ohio, South Dakota. We were going to talk about the crop tour for today's program with Brady Hawk from Advanced Trading. We were going to ask him what about Kansas corn and beans wheat quality. This time is for your agricultural news and markets update on Back Roads of Illinois. Tim Walz become a vice presidential candidate nominee for the Democrats in Chicago. Illinois has a record yields for Pro Farmer Crop Tour. Livestock markets in the bloodbath. Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. He has clutched the nomination for vice presidential candidate nominee with Kamala Harris for the Democrats. The governor was a farmer with his family farm in Nebraska, and he support for the ethanol production in Minnesota, while in Congress. He support for the agricultural industry and farmers. Farm Safe Net in Congress. Illinois has a record yields for Pro Farmer Crop Tour in Central Illinois near Bloomington. It's 204 bushel per acre for Wednesday night in Central Illinois for the corn yields. The beans are 142.9 by pod count. We were waiting for the soybean yield for today. The livestock markets took a bloodbath on Wednesday. They are getting worried about the economy and the demand for next holiday weekend, including your barbecue on next weekend. We were coming back with our guest Brady Hawk from Advanced Trading. This week was pretty busy with the crop tour in the Midwest, and trade is showing down to the markets. Now we were joining with Brady Hawk from Advanced Trading in Dodge City branch in Kansas. How have you been?
I'm doing great, Cesar. Thanks for having me back on your show again. It's always fun to visit with you and catch up. Yeah, this week's been wild with the crop tour. Yeah, absolutely.
This is a pretty busy week for the crop tour. Let's start with our conversation about the crop conditions in central U.S. and Kansas.
Yep. Well, Caesar, we have it's that time of year where the crop is finishing up, grain fill. Some areas getting some timely rains to help them out. Other areas, relying on profile moisture. Got some kind of warmer conditions. Feels a little like summer out here in western Kansas. We could use another drink of moisture, and we've been very fortunate in Dodge City to get a lot of moisture this year, but I think we're about 30% ahead of normal. But we are, an anomaly kind of versus the northwest and north central part of the state and other parts of the western corn belt. But overall, I'd say crops are sitting okay. But you got to question and wonder how the warmer weather is going to affect some of the acres out here, and if we can finish up with a good in a good spot.
How is the pollination in the pods in Kansas?
It's a good question. In my area, there's a lot of irrigation, and I think that just kind of flattens the curve a little bit. And we didn't deal with terrible heat this year, so things things went really well from a pollination standpoint in the western part of the state, and that's going to our local harvest type basis. And we're a corn deficit area, so we always need to pull grain in from the Midwest. Every year we do, because we feed a lot of cattle, have ethanol plants out here. But the yeah, the grain supply, I think, at harvest is going to be pretty good for the most part, because of how we've had things here. But yeah, going forward, it'll be interesting to see test weights and that type of stuff, kernel depth, that impacts the top end of the yield. um, Pod fill in my part of the country, western part of the state, we don't have a whole lot of beans, but this weather and the dryness could impact a little bit of that. So, but a lot of variability always in Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas. Always variability out here in the West, from miles to miles. 20 miles apart, you can have a completely different situation from a rainfall perspective.
Brady, could you explain what happened with the commodity prices until November?
Yeah, going forward here, some important harvest marketing decisions for producers. A lot of people look for a seasonal type of low.
Is there anything would you like to tell our listeners about the cattle on feed report, because we were almost over about the crop tour?
Yep. Crop tours behind us, and yeah, we kind of confirmed there's a decent crop out there. We need its demand season. On the cattle side of things, we got a cattle on feed report here at 2 o'clock. We're not quite there yet. The trade's looking for a 104% placement number and a 108.2% marketings number. The cattle market has been beat up a lot lately. The placements number, 104%. We had really low placements last year, so we're comparing against a low number. It'll be interesting to see if we overshoot or undershoot that number. I really have no opinion on that placements number. The marketing's number, though, I'm I'm concerned about it. It looks bullish on the surface if it comes in at 108.2 or even above. But if you adjust for the additional 2 marketing days, Caesar, that's actually down 1% going forward, versus a year ago. Going forward, the cattle business, I think we got to watch the consumer, the economy, the macro market. We get our cowboy hats on. We focus so much on the supply side of the lowest beef cows in 70 years or something. But beef on dairy is filling that gap. We're these carcasses are 3-4% bigger than they were a year ago. We're sending more beef to town on less animals. We are finding enough supply to satisfy the consumer, but not a supply shortage where the prices go skyrocketing higher, but also luckily it hasn't been too burdensome yet. But I am worried about their buying habits going forward. The lean beef market's been supporting the beef cutout, and as we go forward into past grilling season, hamburger season, I'm concerned about some of the downside risk that could continue. Bull markets come to an end. We've seen that in the grains. Is it the cattle's turn? I don't know. I don't know, Caesar.
Do you think that the demand is going to be high for next weekend?
Yeah, we talked about a football season here coming up, Caesar, and you're excited about that, and I'm excited about it as well. That I hope so. I know I'm going to be grilling beef and steaks when I can. I'm a big beef eater, but yeah, I can't wait to light up the grill and cook some burgers.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, from a grain perspective, I think producers, if you're out there, have a fall marketing plan. Don't get in the combine and hope, just hope's not a great plan here. I want to be optimistic about what the future holds, but get your harvest plan in order for the before the combines start rolling, and we have to make important decisions. Don't make those decisions when you have to. Make them when you want to. There's ways to stay in the game and keep the upside open, while defining your price risk going forward. Cowboys, calves are going to come to town here. You're going to wean them, and you're going to either retain ownership or market them. It's very difficult to go out after the sell-off we've seen and protect prices, but we're still at historically pretty good levels, and having a floor underneath you at these prices I'd hope I'd own that and not need it versus wish I would have had it looking back in hindsight. So that's kind of what I'll leave your listeners with here, Cesar, and appreciate you having me on here again.
Where people can find you in Kansas or the Midwest.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. We stream every day live at 9 on YouTube. You can reach out to me at our advanced trading website. Got a lot of neat things on that website. Find my number and contact information there.
Thank Brady. This is Brady Hawk from Advanced Trading on Back Roads of Illinois. This is your commodity markets update on Back Roads of Illinois. Corn futures finished in down 3 to 6 cents. Soybean futures finished in down 8 to 9 cents. Wheat futures finished in down 7 to 8. Let's take a look for the livestock markets. Cattle futures finished in down 8 to 9 cents. Feeder cattle finished in down 8 to 9 cents. Lean hogs finished in down 8 to 10 cents. Crude oil finished in up 8 to 7 cents per barrel. Dow Jones finished in up 2 points. The corn market been unchanged for this morning. Thanks to Brad Huck from Advanced Trading. We're running out of time on our show, but you can listen to our show on YouTube and whenever you get your podcast. This been Back Roads of Illinois. I am Cesar Delgado. Have a good weekend.